Okay. So when people are switched, they don't want what they want. So somebody who has cancer wants to cure cancer, and he's switched, so he doesn't want to cure cancer. And people think that that's self sabotage, but it's actually not. It's just being switched. Or, as the man said, if a child is crying for a cookie and you give him a cookie, he'll throw it in the dirt. By the way, I looked up after I made the movie a little while, a couple of days ago. I looked up the Center for Feeling Therapy, and they were sued by their former clients and settled out of court for $6 million and folded the center, and the two head guys lost their licenses to practice in California. So, it was a real scandal. And this is an example of what it is to be switched. All this stuff comes down to that. You know, like if you're, let's say you get a current trauma. Like I had a current trauma a long time ago, and I didn't know I was in trauma. It was just this little tiny thing. That's what current traumas are. They're just little tiny things. Like I thought of doing a trade and didn't do it. It seemed to me like a waste of time. And then later I felt bad about myself, e.g., when you feel bad about yourself, you're in trauma. And so I told, and the next day I didn't feel like trading. So Franny came in, you know, in the morning, and I was sitting there and I said, I don't feel like trading. And she said, check yourself for trauma. And when I cured the trauma, I unswitched. And then I felt like trading. So if you go back to my friend who does relationship courses and broke up his relationship, maybe he doesn't want to have a relationship. And he is, of course, if you start talking to this guy, who's a pretty great guy, really, if you start talking to him, he will go into every little nuance and detail about what could have interfered or what was the downfall of the relationship. you know, and it can just resolve itself to a simple thing like he doesn't want to have a relationship. And so for example, he started up with somebody who didn't want to have a relationship. Now I'm guessing, I never met his ex, so I don't know a thing about it, But I'm just saying, this is what people do. And later, remember that movie Tootsie, I think it was called, with Dustin Hoffman, who plays this actor who becomes a female impersonator, and people believe he's a woman because he's a good actor. That's a great old movie. I mean, this is like, it was probably made, I guess, in the 80s or 70s, and there's a point where the leading lady, this stuck with me, you know, she says, I got a method for finding men. She says, I go to a party and I identify the worst guy in the room, and then I make my move. Oh, boy. Anyway, you should watch it. It has a happy ending. Uh-huh. Unlike life, where when it ends, you die. But you might be happy when you die. It's possible. If you're in touch with God, which then brings me to how do you cure things? See, this is another aspect of curing things. You have to be in touch with God to cure things. You have to maintain your God connection to cure things. If you're not connected to God, you won't cure anything. So here's these already, we've got two things against you curing anything. Number one is you're switched, everybody is. So you are. You know? And the other one is that you have to be connected to God. You know, before I said that, there was this thought that crossed my mind. And that's why I sort of like, for a minute there, I just sort of lost my thread, you know. Which isn't a very good thing to do when you're talking about being connected to God. Come to think of it. But anyway, you know, I started out with this. But when I cured my herpes, I started telling, and I didn't realize, but I had connected to God, like big time. The very first time I ever got a signal, the very first time I immediately connected to God. However, I've had a master since I'm 15, and I didn't first get a signal that way until I was in my 40s. Wow. So I have had a pretty good God connection for a long, long time in this lifetime. And I was connected to God before I found Meher Baba also. Finding Meher Baba was an expression of my God connection. It wasn't the thing that got me connected. But since Meher Baba is God, you know, arguably I was connected with him before this lifetime, which I was, because I've worked a few of my past lives, and, you know, I definitely was. My connecting to God goes back a way long distance. See, this is another thing, is that there, you know, during this section, you know, the curing section, I may never actually talk about curing or like give curing lessons. I mean, I'm talking about it now, but, you know, I may never give curing lessons because you know, there's really a lot in your way of curing anything. And that's what you need to address. And this is what I dropped out. See, I started out, I cured my herpes, and I started out by telling people, I cured my herpes and you can cure yours. And so they all came in, switched, and none of them even gave a shit about connecting to God, as far as I could see. Even people who go to church on Sunday religiously, you know, they, you know, most of the time they don't care about connecting to God. They're going because they want something, and they can't let go of wanting it. Like, there's a church down there, you know, south of me, not very far, like 10-minute ride. I have to go past it all the time to go where I'm going. And I've gone in there, I've taken pumpkins, you know, after Halloween, they gave all their pumpkins away, and I took pumpkins. And the people are great, you know. The only thing is, you know, most of them weigh like, most of them have an extra 100 pounds of fat on their bodies. And that's because they want something. and it's not food. They've got enough food, but they're switched. And also, see, a lot of times, like you tell people, look, you can't just do a keto diet. You need to study nutrition. And they just have no interest in studying nutrition. Either that, or they believe they know more about nutrition than you because they bought a detox program or whatever. They all have something. See, now we come to immune dysfunctions. And immune dysfunctions can't be cured. They're adaptive responses. Some of them are completely unconscious, like you're just not aware you're doing it. Like cancer is an immune dysfunction. So is addiction. And, you tell somebody they're a sex addict, they don't want to hear it, because they have everything in the media and, movies, whatever, tells them that, having lots of sex is desirable. And meanwhile, they may be switched and not want any sex. So they're running around, acting out sexually with everybody, thinking they're having sex, and they're not really. What they're having isn't real. I don't know how to explain it even, but as a sex addict, I can speak about it, but I can't really explain it, I don't think. Maybe I'll come up with something. I hadn't thought about any of this. I speak completely extemporaneously when I make these movies, though I do kind of plan in my mind the general things I want to say. Anyway, immune dysfunctions are things that you have adopted because you're switched, and when you adopt these things, such as compulsions, obsessions, obsequiousness, play acting. I don't even know if some of the things I'm saying to you are on the list. They may be new ones. Like I looked up beliefs and they weren't there. And beliefs are an immune dysfunction. Any belief is an immune dysfunction. Any belief at all. It's interesting. The other day we were trading, and there was a point where we were sort of between trades, and Franny said, she said, I just figured out the trick of, like looking at these candles that are forming. She said, the thing you have to do is completely not think. Don't think, just look. The Zen of stock trading. Well, years ago I realized that it has to be a glance. And I think Franny just got that. That she can walk in and at a glance, she can see what the market is likely to do. And then there's conditions. Thought I was done, didn't you? Conditions are a pathology. And one condition is, there's a big lesson on conditions that gives all types of tips for curing conditions. And one of the tips is pay no attention to what you don't want. Focus on what you want. And that would be very easily misunderstood by any stock trader I said that to. And it would be absolutely wrong. But it would just need to be phrased differently, because you see, what traders do, it's more important for a trader to manage and control risk than it is for a trader to do good trades. That was Jesse Livermore's method, was doing good trades, and he kept going broke. And he went up, I think he was at 500 million at one time. And he was richer than Andrew Carnegie, and lost it all, He just didn't have good risk management. But see, when you think about risk management, you think about not losing money or not losing too much money. There's something Taleb said. He said that the definition of blowing up your investing account is you lose more than you wanted to. So in order to manage risk, what you have to do is see to what level you want to, so it comes back to wanting instead of what you don't want. To what level you want to stop yourself from losing more than that. Oh God, I got a lot of ants here. You just want to, because you have to tolerate some losses in trading. What you want is to tolerate only the losses you feel that you can tolerate and still continue trading. And this doesn't mean that you have to put on a series of very fast trades, on the heels of one another. That's that problem. In my business, anyway, that's not a good idea. I don't know about others. See, that's the thing about trading. Everybody who trades is very specialized. And so, these books, like, there was a little story I was thinking about telling you. There are there's this series of books called Market Wizards, and traders really love these books. They were published, I believe, in the 90s, and then everybody liked them so much that the author kept publishing them, and he's probably written like 5 or 6 books at this point. And has a lot of YouTube movies out, and he's getting long in the tooth, but he's still around, And anyway, in one of the Market Wizard books, he interviewed a trader who wasn't like really an earth-shaking trader. Like some of them were earth-shaking traders, these people who he interviewed. But this guy was important for a different reason. See, he started coaching traders, and he had 2 approaches to coaching he used. One was NLP, You know what that is, right? If you don't, it doesn't matter. But the other one was hypnotherapy, and I know you know what hypnotherapy is. And he talked about a trader who this trader was having so much trouble, and he hypnotized him to find out what was at the root cause of it. And what came out was that the trader didn't want to trade. He didn't know it, but he didn't want to trade. It only came out under hypnosis. And he thought other people wanted him to trade, like his wife, and he thought he had to provide lots of money and whatever, you know. So every so often these things come to light. Anyway, in the lesson, one of the best things on how to cure conditions is don't focus on what you don't want. And you see, if you're going to do risk management, what you have to do is turn it into what you do want and focus on that. Like make risk management and also the particular kind that you do. Oh, like for example, a long time ago, I realized that it was a good idea. I would feel more comfortable if my stop went in simultaneously with my buy order. And that's what I have now. I have my template set up so that when I put in a buy order, there's a stop loss and also a limit I can pull down to close my trade with the limit, so that the price goes up into my order instead of my order being, let's say, a market order chasing a declining stock. And of course, they all turn into market orders. But when something is on a tear going up and it hits a limit order, it's more likely it will keep going. I have gotten like 20 cents more for an option for that exact reason, that the limit triggered at one price, and when it executed, it had gone up 20 cents. So, and 20 cents is like $2,000 on 100 shares. So okay, so now we're getting into, in this thing, is the causes of switching. And I think maybe, see, the way I organized the web college is that skill 1 is learning how to cure cancer, learning how to kill viruses, learning how to change your DNA, and things like that, basic essential things that you need to do to cure things. And while that is a good way to organize the web college, what we're doing in this book is we're looking at very advanced lessons. And you see, the thing about this is that the lessons on curing, just basic lessons like killing viruses, are the things that makes this different from everything else. The thing that makes this different from everything else is that you go to Tony Robbins, he doesn't teach you to kill a virus. I suppose he could, but I think maybe he knows better. He may not know how to kill viruses, but maybe he knows better. He probably doesn't get sick that much, too. So, and he raises people's energy, and that actually makes them more immune. So he I'm not, trying to trash my colleagues or competitors, but I think that I'm actually in a different business because what I'm trying to do is eradicate physical disease. And I just didn't realize before this that unless I can change, I can create change in people. That's not going to happen because these people are nobody who can cure anything and have it stay cured anyway.